Good morning, beloved. Truly, it is a marvelous Monday. I pray that you all had a wonderful weekend. And I just wanted to share a video with you this morning. A couple of weeks ago, I started cleaning out this row of trees. Just trying to thin them out a little bit. Over the years, it got kind of thick, and I just felt like cleaning them out. And so I started on this end, and you can see there, much thinner, and it was actually worse on this side than it was on the side that you had previously seen. And as I started doing it, I was using an axe, and I didn't even really understand why I was using the axe because we had a chainsaw. But after I got in here, I realized that there were still some grapevines still in the midst of all of these trees. I would come home over the last few years and get some grapes, and the majority of them were up in trees. So I decided to, so as I began to clean out, I decided to, hey, let's go ahead and thin this back so we can get to some of the grapes. And as I began to clean them out, of course, I have quite a few scratches to show for it now. There were some briars and thorns in the midst of all of this. But something God began to show me and teach me is that when you begin to eat the grape from the vine, you will forget all about the thorns. You will forget about the pain. You will forget about everything that you endured. And oftentimes our walk with God is just that. Oftentimes when we're going through things, we tend to have the tendency to focus on what we're in, what we're going through, and focusing on the pain, but we don't realize that God is leading us somewhere. He's trying to get us somewhere. And if we would just, continue to stay in prayer and meditation, continue to seek the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of God, He will give us that little bit that helps us to push beyond whatever we're feeling, because whatever we're feeling, whatever we're going through is temporary, because God is trying to get us somewhere. And so as I began this morning with a little bit more cleanup, God began to teach me and to remind me about the children of Israel and their journey and their walk with God. And He took me over to Exodus chapter 16, I believe it was, when after they had crossed the Red Sea, and they were following God, and came a time when they began to cry out to God for manna, and they began to complain, go to God and go to Moses, talking about, Lord, you should have just left us in Egypt. We were sitting around, and, our fires had pots full of meat, even though we were in Egypt, Lord, you should have just left us there. And, as I began to think about that, God began to say, you have to be careful about how you come to me. You have to be careful how you come to me. He said, had they come to me seeking me for clarity versus complaining, that generation that died in the wilderness never would have died. He said just how they came to me prevented them from walking in the blessed promises that I had bestowed or had stored up for them, because they came to me complaining. He said all they had to do was come to me, in the midst of their difficulty, and say, Lord, I know you didn't, leave us, bring us out here for us to die in this wilderness. I know you didn't just bring us out here just to leave us. Lord, help us to understand, why we're going through what we're going through. Help us to give us some clarity, God, on why we're going through. He said just saying the same words but saying them a different way made all the difference in the world. He said you go from complaining the way they did to now seeking me for clarity. And I just pray that this word encourages somebody this morning, so that you don't find yourself missing out on what God has for you because you go to God complaining, talking about, Lord, why am I here? Why do I have to go through all of this? And, Lord, you should have just left me where I was. There's a difference in going to God like that versus saying, God, help me to understand why I am where I am and why I'm going through what I'm going through. And that could be the difference in you walking into the blessed promises of God versus you not making it. And so I just pray that this word encourages somebody this morning, rather than going to God complaining, that you go to God seeking clarity, and while you're going through, don't focus on the storm, the thorns, don't focus on the storm, don't focus on the difficulty, don't focus on the pain. Just be reminded of the promise that God made for you. And once you behold the promise, God says you'll forget all about the pain. Be encouraged, my brothers and my sisters, in Jesus' name.